President Trump's private attorney made a startling argument in federal court Wednesday. William Consovoy said that even if the president were to shoot someone, he would be immune from prosecution while in office. The president made nearly the same case on the 2016 campaign trail. Back then, he suggested he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue in New York and not lose any voters. The president's attorney is fighting a subpoena from New York prosecutors for his private financial records. Last week, ProPublica obtained never-before-seen tax documents related to some of the president's properties. They indicate the president misrepresented their values to reap the tax benefits. ProPublica reporter Heather Vogell obtained those documents in collaboration with WNYC as part of their joint Trump Inc. podcast, and Heather joins me now. Heather, thanks so much for being with us. This is really fascinating. When you kind of delve into what is revealed here, what exactly do these documents indicate about how the president may have tried to decrease his tax bill for his properties?
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. What was interesting that we found was that we had two sets of documents. We had property tax filings that were made with local officials, and we had information that was submitted to a lender for a refinance that he had done. And those things didn't match up. There were major discrepancies, and those discrepancies had the effect of potentially making the buildings seem less profitable when the tax officials were looking at them and more profitable when the lender was looking at them.
You spoke to several tax experts about what these documents show. What conclusions did they draw? Because some people might say, well, mistakes happen. There could be an innocent explanation for discrepancies.
Sure, and you know, that's always a possibility, and I worried about that, especially when I first started into this. It was sort of a new thing, and I'm comparing, and there's all kinds of, it's complicated. But what, you know, I spent months and months talking to people. I ended up talking to more than a dozen professionals in this area, different types of experts, CPAs, tax lawyers, appraiser. And what they, you know, basically the bottom line was that there was a handful of significant discrepancies that did not have any kind of easy explanation. They could not explain away these particular discrepancies.
So if this kind of manipulation of figures did take place, do we know if the president himself may have been responsible, or would it more likely have been members of the Trump organization?
Sure. I mean, these are corporate filings. They're not personal filings like a personal tax return, which is what everybody has been looking for from him. So, you know, that is a Trump organization is an incredibly opaque organization. We do not know a lot about how it works. It is not a very transparent organization, but it is a privately held corporation that is his corporation. So everything does point back to him at some point. In terms of who would be responsible for what, we don't know that because we don't have all of those documents.
Well, who is responsible for policing this kind of behavior, this action, and what would the possible punishments be?
Well, you know, there's a warning that's on the tax instructions when you fill these tax forms out that says that false filings could be subject to civil or criminal penalties. And so there's a range of different issues that might come up if that is discovered. You might have the Manhattan DA may be interested in this kind of case, depending, or even the state attorney general. Potentially federal prosecutors might be interested if there's a question of some kind of bank or securities fraud.
And you reached out, I understand, to New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio about these discrepancies. What did he say?
Right. I mean, I was looking for an explanation for why the income was so much higher on the loan side than on the tax side for a couple particular properties he had. And what the city said was that they didn't have an answer and that they were going to be looking at these properties to see if underreporting of income had occurred.
So very much a story to be continued. Heather Vogell. Heather, thank you so much for sharing your reporting with us.
Thank you.